Hello, my name is Michael Ward, and this will be my fourth attempt at getting my movie online. I'm not going to have uh, slides during this speech because of the technical difficulty. It's been interesting, and I now know that I need several other different types of software in order to properly upload to YouTube. However, it is letting me do this through my webcam, which I've never done this before. So here we go. We'll see if I can meet the 15-minute time limit that is set for the assignment. Uh, as I mentioned before, my name is Michael Ward. I am an English major graduate from the University of Florida, and I really want to be a teacher. I've always been interested in education, and I've always excelled at education. It is something that I look forward to doing down the road and look forward to doing for quite some time. Um, I won't be talking about English though today, not extensively at least. What I want to talk about is NASA. It has been a hobby of mine. I have kept up with NASA ever since the fifth grade, and it's just a corporation association that I have always loved. I've always kept up with it in the news ever since the shuttles were launching Hubble from when I was in middle school. I've been an avid reader of anything that has come out of NASA. Uh, but NASA is experiencing some problems right now. They have an administrator that has been forced to deal with extreme budgetary cuts, and he has had to completely redesign NASA from the ground up. Uh, about, I want to say 6 to 8 months ago, they had to let go the entire workforce for the shuttle, or a large part of it. They have a skeletal crew now that maintains what they can around NASA, including the engineers that are still there. With the retirement of the space shuttle, we are looking for modes of transportation to reach the International Space Station. The International Space Station is a multi-trillion-dollar platform that we use as a laboratory and experimental platform for anything that we want to experiment with in outer space. There are many experiments that are being performed by multiple countries, but the only way to get to the International Space Station right now is with a Soyuz rocket, and this is insufficient in the eyes of our government. There are two companies that are going after the COTS program, which is the private agreement that NASA has with a series of corporations, privately owned businesses. The first one is Orbital Sciences, and they have a disposable rocket. You send it up once, and it's done. Uh, that's it. Everything burns up in the atmosphere, the first and second stages, and the capsule. The capsule that they use would be solely designed to go up there, connect to the space station, and then go back to the atmosphere and burn up in the atmosphere. SpaceX, on the other hand, is something different. It's one of the major companies that are competing for the COTS agreement, and they are making substantial strides towards being the premier space launch company. Before I get on to SpaceX, I would like to point out two major projects that are in the news for NASA. The first one is the rover Curiosity. It's on its way to Mars, and it will be landing in August. I really like this rover. It's the size of a small SUV, and it has multiple experimental arms or experiments out on one arm that it will be able to extend an arm into a rock and then bring the sample back inside and test it, which to me that's very interesting. I like the idea of us putting as many rovers on Mars as we can. We have 2 or 3 that are actually right now have been or have died on Mars. We do have one rover currently on Mars called Opportunity that is still going. It's been several winters, and it's still able to survive through the winter and then recharge on the other side. And this little rover has done amazing work, and I just enjoy keeping up with Opportunity. But the Curiosity rover is a nuclear powered rover, and we hope that it will go for much longer. The rover's spirit and opportunities the rover's Spirit and Opportunity were only intended to go for up to 8 or 9 months. Opportunity has now gone on for several years, which is awesome. The other major project that NASA is working on is the James Webb Space Telescope, and this is a telescope that is designed to replace Hubble. It started off as a $2.8 billion project, but now it's well over $8.8 billion, and it's going to probably cost even more than that. Hopefully this is not the case. I would really like to see the James Webb Space Telescope launched, but it is the proverbial money pit right now for NASA, and hopefully this changes. Because I'd really like to see this satellite go up into space and see what it's capable of, compared to Hubble, which we've had for the past, I think, 7 years. So, back to where NASA is going, though. NASA has obviously had to retire the space shuttle, and it is going to be turning that service, that service over to private companies. And SpaceX is really the only one right now that is capable of sending astronauts to outer space. They claim they could go tomorrow if the safety requirements were only that of the shuttle. But they want an escape system. They want a way to be able to, if there is a small malfunction, they can get the capsule away from the rocket. This is smart and intelligent, and I believe it has more than one purpose, the escape system. I know it does, actually. They've advertised it. They have what's called Dragon engines that are designed to go on the side of the capsule. I'll get back to that in a second, but that's their escape system. The way Elon Musk plans on making this whole system cheaper is that he wants to incorporate reusability into the rockets, which is basically the design of most rockets has been you fill it with gas, you put it on a launch pad, and you light it and run, and the fuel tanks and engines burn up upon re-entry. Well, this is inefficient. I mean, we don't drive our cars every day, and once we get to our destination, put our car in a car crusher, and buy a new car at the end of the day to drive home. We just don't do that. We don't do that with our airplanes. We don't do it with any form of transportation. And this needs to be applied to the space industry. We need to be able to reuse these vehicles. When it costs $50 million, granted, that's much cheaper than any other space launch company, but it's still $50 million, and we'd like to recoup as much of that as possible. So what they're planning on doing is the first stage has 9 engines. It's going to be over 1 million pounds of thrust, and that main tower, that main column, will be able to stop itself just outside the atmosphere and then slowly light one central engine and burn all the way back down to the launch pad. It will use the rockets to slow its descent. Now, the other second stage has one Merlin engine that is attached. It will produce, each Merlin engine produces 125,000 pounds of thrust. And this one Merlin engine will further propel the capsule up towards the space station. After it's done with its burn, it's designed for one final burn back towards the back towards the atmosphere. The After this second stage drops off, the capsule and the cargo secondary cargo module that will be attached to the bottom of the capsule will drift towards the International Space Station, and it will dock with the space station for up to 2 months, providing energy using the solar panels that are on the side of the capsule. Now, we've talked about how SpaceX is planning to lower the cost, and we've talked about how the capsule is going to be much more advanced. They're planning on, to go back to the Dragon engines, they're planning on these escape systems, these escape engines, to not just function in an escape capacity, but also in a way for the capsule itself to land on other bodies. The moon, an asteroid, maybe moons around Mars, or even Mars itself. These engines are high powered, they're small, and they are designed to stop a capsule as it barrels through an atmosphere. This means that we will effectively be able to send people back to the moon, to an asteroid, or to Mars. If you'll look at the design specs for the Orion light, there isn't an escape system. There is not a door for an astronaut in a space suit to emerge from. The Dragon has a door. None of the other capsules are advanced. None of the other capsules have been as well advertised. And the other companies, if they want to compete, need to start putting more information out for the public. If you want to get any prices from any of the other companies, you're not going to get a straightforward price. You're going to get rumors if you do enough research. You'll find a few numbers out there floating around, but you won't actually find any actual solid details. The importance of the Dragon engines, though, would allow us to land on Mars, and this is a dream for every space junkie and sci-fi freak out there. This is what we had hoped all along would happen, that someone would eventually come along, create a space company, and be able to do something like this. And Elon Musk has stated from the beginning that this is what his goal was. Mars has always been the goal of SpaceX, and it won't. That goal will not go away. Everything that he has done up to now has been designed to create a business model to go to Mars. Elon Musk has been laughed at by the general public. He's been ridiculed, he's been scoffed at, and we've just cheered every single time he succeeded, especially with this third flight of his Falcon 9, which will be delivering cargo to the International Space Station. He started two other companies as well, Tesla Motors and Solar City. He is a chairman on the Solar City board. But if you'll look at Tesla Motors, they're an extremely successful car company right now. Their stock is up to $30 per share, and for a startup car company, that's quite impressive, especially when Ford, their stock, now they have billions of stocks on the open market. By comparison, Tesla only has up to, I believe, it's still in the millions of stocks. I don't know exactly how many, but Ford stock is only $12. So I'm really hoping that Elon Musk can succeed in all of his ventures, because that's only good for SpaceX. If all of his other business ventures succeed, he'll be able to support SpaceX more. The NASA initiatives have most NASA manned spaceflight initiatives want us to go back to the moon, want us to go to other places in the solar system, but they have stated outright that they're going to need private companies. The one other subject that I want to talk about before I leave you is where else could SpaceX go? I mean, yeah, we send people to the International Space Station, but eventually the International Space Station will probably be deorbited. We've spent trillions of dollars to create it, but uh, only if all the countries agree to support this space laboratory will we actually succeed. Will it actually stay? And I hope that they are able to keep it flying. I hope that the countries are willing to continue to pay for this product, because we need people in space. We need exploration. We need space for uh, laboratories and experiments. But the one other place that potential destination would be what's known as a Bigelow Aerospace capsule or space habitat. And Bigelow Aerospace is working on an inflatable habitat that could that has one Bigelow habitat has a quarter of the entire area, cubic area of the International Space Station. You send this space habitat up into orbit, and you inflate it with air, and you have much more room by comparison to anything on the International Space Station. This would provide another destination for the SpaceX capsules, and it would provide an additional revenue source of income. Satellites are a great way to get income for a rocket business, but um, this doesn't need to be the only income. There are many countries in the world that would love to have a space program, and if they could buy into or lease a Bigelow Aerospace habitat, the only way that they could get to a Bigelow Aerospace habitat would be through maybe a Boeing CST-100, a Lockheed Orion Light, or a SpaceX capsule, Dragon capsule. Now, there are some smaller private companies. The CEO of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, has a company called Blue Origin that is creating a space capsule, and he's probably the closest to being on the same level as one of the larger aerospace than any of the smaller companies like Lynx. The Lynx spacecraft is only a suborbital aircraft. Virgin Galactic is only a suborbital aircraft. There are a lot of companies. Armadillo Aerospace doesn't even have an aircraft yet. They're still testing their engines. So, in conclusion, I have nothing but the greatest hope for SpaceX and what they're doing. I really hope that they can succeed. What they've been doing so far is really inspirational, and I hope they can continue this. Because I'm a huge fan of American spaceflight, and I have been following it for so long. I want this to succeed. And he has billions of dollars worth of contracts from the government, but he also has 60% of his income is coming from private satellite corporations. He has a huge contract with Iridium satellite systems that is over $2 billion. So I'm really hoping that he can succeed and play with his rockets. I mean, he doesn't seem to ever lose interest, and he loves his job. And I mean, if you get to work in a rocket company, let's be honest, who wouldn't love their job? Okay, I've gone on long enough. I hope this has inspired you in some small way, but I'm looking forward to the day when space travel or space exploration is down to the point where anyone wants to go. If anyone wants to go, they can do it for maybe $20,000 and spend a few days up in space and have the time of their life. So, in conclusion, this is Michael Ward, and this has been my project for my educational class at Florida Southern. Thank you very much.